Welcome to this video series from LMN. And here we're going to talk about snow budgeting, or how to build a budget for your snow and ice services separate from the rest of your company. This video series was built for contractors who do snow for only a portion of the year. If you do snow and ice services all year round, or all you do is snow and ice services, then you really don't need to watch this video, as the main intent of these videos are to help you split snow and ice revenues and costs and overhead from the rest of your company. So it's tailored towards a company that does a variety of different services. You could also be watching these videos if you want to be able to analyze your company better by division. So for example, you make a snow budget, you make a maintenance budget, you make a construction budget to be best able to see where your profits are coming from and where your leaks may be occurring. Now, the first question you should be asking yourself is if you even need a snow budget. Remember, when it comes to estimating, the cost of labor, even if you pay your guys differently for snow, that's going to be recovered when you estimate. That's a cost of goods sold, and we can build labor items that reflect higher average wages so that we're making sure we're estimating snow correctly. Also, when you look at estimating equipment or estimating materials, again, those are things we're going to build in the estimate. And the estimating catalog in LMN will help us calculate what a snow truck is with a plow and a salter on it, or how much to charge for our salt. So you really don't need to go through the work of building an entire budget just to make sure you're recapturing those costs accurately. Those costs can be easily set up in the item catalog and easily estimated. The value of a snow budget is really to help you build an overhead recovery system and a default net profit that's customized specifically for snow. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, my overhead's kind of the same all year, and I'm too small a company to really separate from my snow staff from my other staff, then maybe you don't even need a snow budget. It may be easier to just keep all together. Many companies, though, do hit a point where they've grown large enough that snow requires a lot of time and dedicated people to help run it, and then it may be, in fact, time to build a snow budget on its own. If you want to be able to analyze your divisions better, again, that's another good reason for having a snow budget, just to break each thing down by major department. Now, one thing a lot of snow contractors learn is something that they already knew. Not to pick on grounds maintenance, but it's a realistic example. A lot of companies who do grounds maintenance in the summer and snow in the winter, when they make two different budgets, they discover that they're not making much money in the summer, and they end up making good money in the winter. So the winter or the snow services kind of subsidize the profit that's not there in the summertime. Now on the flip side, the snow services depend largely on the maintenance services in the summer to get the work. A lot of contracts are 12-month contracts. And so the two of them go hand in hand. Now, if you left those two budgets separate, you may be tempted to charge more for your maintenance and then end up finding that you're not winning a lot of work. Or in another scenario, you're bidding competitively for snow, but maybe leaving too much profit on the table, profit that you actually need to help subsidize the maintenance division. So you can go ahead and build two budgets, but bear in mind, many owners have built the two or split the two budgets, and then at the end of the process realized, you know what, I'm just going to leave these two things together because they depend on each other so much. If you do a lot of 12-month contracts, you should realize that already. An estimate for a 12-month contract doesn't necessarily need separate overhead recovery for the summer and the winter, especially if you're a smaller company without like a dedicated snow department. Another question a lot of first-time snow budgeters ask themselves is, what am I going to do about predicting snow, or how can we possibly forecast how much snow we're going to get? And the short answer is you can't. There's no way any one of us is going to be able to reliably predict how much snow we're going to get, or else we wouldn't be doing this for a living. All you can really do is base your forecasts on 5-year averages, or even 10-year averages if you have them. You can use things like a paid weather service or your national weather database to get information about the number of events in your area and the amount of snow per event. But even those things don't tell the whole story. It's hard from weather data itself to figure out all the times that you would have had to go out and do salting. And especially in many cities where that kind of service is even different across one end of the city than the other, becomes extremely difficult to just look at numbers and figure out what's the average number of events you're going to have. You might be best, if you can, to consult a local peer in the industry. Just make sure you're dealing with a peer who's going to give you good, reliable information. Now let's jump into what you need to prepare your snow budget. So before you even sit down to write your snow budget, here's what you should have ready and in hand. First of all, engage your accounting department and see if you can get a P&L, that's a profit and loss statement from last year, that's specific to just your snow season. So as an example, and your snow season may differ, but you could have them run a P&L from November 15th to March 15th. It's useful because then we can see our expenses and sales in a tight timeline. Just bear in mind, all your expenses or sales might not have been covered just in that timeline. You might collect money after March 15th and didn't enter it until then, and you may spend money before November 15th. But for things like fuel and repairs and even payroll, a date range like that is a great place to start. That brings us to a payroll report. You should definitely have a payroll report on hand for your snow season. Once again, you identify your date range and pull a payroll report so you can see the kinds of hours that people worked in snow. If you break down your payroll reports or labor expenses already by division, so you know exactly what you spent in terms of hours and wages for the snow division, that's even better. That information will come in hand when planning next year. You should also get a list of snow equipment available. So how many plows you have, how many trucks work in snow, how many salters you have, loaders, ag tractors, snow blowers, any of the other equipment that's dedicated to snow. You don't need too much information about them. Just at least gather a list. And if you can, what those things cost when you buy them so that you can build your snow equipment budget easier. And finally, try to put together a sales forecast before you sit down and budget for snow. So you got to look at things like weather history. Last year, for example, you would have had your sales and accounting, but did you have a big snow year last year or a light snow year last year, or was it very average? That'll help you, especially if you can look back over a couple of years, project where your average sales are at. And then also look at things like if you've won or lost big contracts over last year, what it's likely to do to your snow sales. Now, finally, just make sure you have a P&L for your entire company year. When it comes to overhead spending, you're going to use your full year P&L to help you split your overhead expenses for the snow season. So make sure you have that on hand as well. Now, there'll be other videos following this one to take you step by step through the snow process. If you have any questions about this video or any of the ones following, make sure you reach out to us at support@golmn.com or www.golmn.com. Get in touch with us. We'll get you the answers you need so you can build an accurate and profitable snow budget for next year. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.